Welcome back to Limpy Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until the sequel Tears of the Kingdom comes out, which is today in 26 days. I want to talk about Link's potential fourth hidden ability today. And this is kind of like a continuation of a video I had done in the past. Many people have talked about this. And it also kind of ties in with what I have discussed in my newest trailer analysis. I think it's now basically confirmed that the recall ability is different than the other three abilities that we've seen Link use in Aonuma's gameplay showcase. Not only because it glows in a different glow, but mainly because the recall icon is not only showing up on one of the tiers in the recent Tears of the Kingdom trailer, but additionally, the icon around the tier rune is actually exactly the lines that you can see in the first Tears of the Kingdom trailer. When Link's arm starts glowing green, you can see that golden bracelet quite clearly, and that it basically looks exactly like the recall rune. Again, I don't do edited videos. I basically just do these videos while playing and ranting, so you would have to look that up yourself, or just believe me. I would say recall is an ability tied to one of the tiers, and it is tied to finishing the Great Sky Plateau. This is kind of all is coming together now. We know that the Great Sky Plateau is probably the start of the game now. The reason we know this, by the way, I do have to be a little bit careful here. The reason we know this is not only has it heavily been theorized that it's the beginning of the game, but Nintendo has now actually officially... I was going to say, normally there's Yiga Blade Masters in here, but I didn't see them. And Nintendo has officially confirmed that the adventure will start in the skies. Everything matches. The location of the platform that Zelda is sitting on at the end of the newest trailer and the one that you can see at the end of the tower-like structure is both around the actual Great Plateau from Breath of the Wild. It's definitely, in my opinion at this point, the beginning of the game. Or where you start the game. And then I think you have to complete 4 Zonai shrines there, and you get your 4 Ultra Hand, like green hand type abilities. In these shrines, potentially. Maybe you get them before and you have to use them inside the shrines to then open the tower structure where you find this altar where Zelda has potentially left you the recall tier and even the broken master sword. If you're more interested in that theory, I'm gonna link my Twitter and a pinned comment below again if you want to read up on what I think about that. But essentially, I think recall is the 5th ability we obtain, our first tier ability after finishing the Great Sky Plateau, which means we haven't seen one of the Sky Plateau green arm abilities yet. And I'm gonna put out another theory what I think it could be. In fact, I'm going to put out 2. I will discuss 2. One is the one that more people think is real. The other one I think is interesting, might not be real. I just kind of want to discuss today. Did I use the word rant again? I was called out recently that I always say rant, even though I'm not really ranting. I'm more like rambling. Oh, I might actually get spotted here. Never mind. So, we've seen Fuse, Ascent, and Ultra Hand in terms of abilities that are probably related to the green arm. Now, what I was reminded of in that shot when Link's arm glows green, which by the way, I still have no idea how Link actually gets possession of that green arm. I've done so much analysis and a lot of the story is more clear to me now, but I still don't know exactly how Link actually obtains the green arm power. We can just assume that Zelda in the past talks to the mysterious figure and asks, please lend him your power. We've heard that line, and then it somehow like appears on Link, or maybe they like fuse. I guess fusing would be a common theme of the game. And then he gets these 3 powers. Now let's talk about the 4th one, the point of the video. The more common theory is that there's an ability tied to Link's feet. People have pointed out that on the big Stonebird glider you can actually see the outline of feet that look similar to Ultra Hand. I hope the ability is not called Ultra Feet. But to talk about this a little bit more, I think that would not just be an ability tied to the Stonebird glider. You wouldn't really be able to utilize that well on the Great Sky Plateau. But what if that ability kind of went with the theme of Ultra Hand, where you essentially get some sort of glue to stick items together, but you apply it to your boots. So you suddenly have like sticky boots, similar to the iron boots of previous Zelda games, where you can like run along magnetical surfaces, maybe even magnetic walls. Things like that could be pretty cool for puzzles, in my opinion, if you could like walk on walls, maybe on ceilings. And then additionally, they could maybe help Link stick to that Stonebird glider to go wherever he wants. I think this is a more common theory. That is like something with these 2 feet outlines that we see. But I had a different idea yesterday when going through the footage of the trailer one more time. One thing that's pretty unclear to me, because I'm a time travel believer, I always have been. If you go back to 2021 even, I already talked about time travel. I always believed it. I believe it even more so now. I am still, despite being a time travel believer, a little bit confused about the blue energy that we see in some shots kind of like surrounding Tulin. This blue/teal energy is somewhat related to time travel, but it doesn't really make sense if Tulin is like using it once. He has it around him once in the Storm of Hera, and then he doesn't in another shot. I was theorizing that maybe these champions can't actually reach the Sky Islands, so they have to be summoned in some sort of way to get up there, which makes sense for Sidon. Like, Sidon wouldn't really be able to get up to those potential floating islands on top of Zora's domain, but Tulin would be able to fly into the Hebra Storm anyway. But maybe the scene where he's seen with the blue energy plays in like a slightly different timeline. I do actually believe that Tears of the Kingdom is playing in multiple timelines. My evidence for that is that we see one shot of Link in the Sanctum, in the Sanctum of Hyrule Castle, which was previously destroyed, and it looks very reminiscent of the Sanctum 100 years ago when Link and the other champions became champions. So that's why I think that has some weight. What is the next region I want to do? I think we're gonna do Zora's Domain. I'm a Zora's Domain enjoyer. The shrines there are relatively quick. Now, it is still a little bit inconsistent, because if it was to get champions up to the sky, we wouldn't need that for Tulin. He can literally fly up there, right? Maybe, and this is the one thing that would still potentially have some weight, maybe the cloud barrier is real, and only Link can get past the cloud barrier, and this blue energy allows us to summon our new companions past the cloud barrier. This would maybe even explain that in one shot Tulin is below the cloud barrier still without the blue energy, and in a later one he's behind the cloud barrier, so Link needed to summon him there. And this is my theory for the 4th ability that could be related. Again, I discussed this on my stream the other day, and I do agree with some things that people were mentioning in it, which is that the blue energy doesn't exactly match with the blue-green energy that Link's arm is emitting, but the hand of the green of the mysterious arm, I still don't know how to actually call it, we'll know eventually, does really look much more blue than green. So maybe it's related. So I thought, what if the 4th ability we get on the Great Sky Plateau related to the arm is actually a summon ability? Clearly, Link and the mysterious, people have called them Sage, people have called them Goat Man, figure that Zelda is talking to in the trailer. These two are, that person and Link are connected in some way, because Link has obtained that person's arm, and to an extent that person's powers, we are to assume. So maybe that last ability allows him to summon heroes from a different time, or heroes from his own time as a companion to fight with him. This is actually something that Elden Ring has done and was relatively popular with. I think a lot of people at first were against the idea of summoning companions in your battle in Elden Ring, but there's been multiple runs, I actually made one, where you beat the game with only summons. It actually does add some interesting diversity and might allow them to ramp up the difficulty a little bit, but give people the option to summon companions to make encounters potentially easier. Now, for that to be an ability that you get on the Great Sky Plateau that early in the game would be a little bit odd. I'm kind of just like throwing that idea out there, because which companion could you possibly summon this early on? Maybe you could even summon the person that Link is getting the arm from to fight with you at the start, but and then eventually be able to summon more companions that help you in battle. From a story perspective, I'm not like entirely convinced that this is something that's possible, but it did kind of explain the potential connection between the fact that these companions have blue energy around them, the new arm is kind of blue, and we are still missing one other arm ability. Plus, again, I like referencing Elden Ring because they have definitely set a precedent for successful RPG games by being an absolute showstopper last year. Wait, was it last year? Yeah, last year. Time is weird. So I think it's something they could try out, and that could actually work quite well in the universe that we are going to be playing in Tears of the Kingdom. So I just kind of wanted to throw that idea out there, my potential speculation for 2 options for our 4th like Zonai arm, that's actually probably a good way to call it, ability that we, in my opinion, have not seen yet, because I do really think Recall is our 5th ability that we get after beating the Great Sky Plateau. We are going to get the Recall tier there, in my opinion. We'll be able to use its power. We also get the Master Sword and the Green Tunic there. And then, in my mind, we are off to explore the kingdom in whatever order we like. I think we are going to get an encounter with Zelda at the end of the Great Sky Plateau, which is going to be very reminiscent of, and it's going to be her as like a spirit, or she has like left us a message from the past. We're going to recall that message, and it's going to be reminiscent of the time we talked to the king on the Temple of Time, and then as soon as that's done, we get the recall power, boom, the entire world is open. That's my speculation for the beginning of the game and the potential abilities we get. Thank you for watching. Tears of the Kingdom will be out in 25 days tomorrow. That is absurd. We're so close, and we've never been more hyped. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.